Hello and welcome to BBC London News with me, Riz Latif. Health bosses in south-west London are developing possible plans to close two hospitals, St Helier and Epsom, and build a brand new 800-bed centre to replace them. It's one of three highly sensitive options for the future of healthcare in the area. The Hospital Trust said in a statement tonight that all plans were long-term and there would need to be consultation and agreement. BBC London learnt of the proposals when management consultants working on them held a conference call on a commuter train. Our political correspondent, Carl Mercer, reports.
The health service, as Nick Clegg found out today at St Helier Hospital, can get people pretty emotional.
What about our NHS? Tell us about the hospital.
Record in campaigning for St Helier's Hospital behind us, keeping it open, keeping the maternity ward open, keeping accident and emergency going.
Big promises from the Lib Dem leader, but it turns out the hospital itself may have different long-term plans. It's commissioned consultants to look at building a new super hospital for the area. One of the options being considered is to build a new hospital here at the St Helier hospital site. The second option being looked at is to rebuild the hospital here at the Epsom site. The third option being considered by consultants, and we're told the preferred option, is to close Epsom and St Helier and rebuild a new, bigger hospital here at Sutton. So how did we find out about these proposals? Well, it wasn't from the NHS. It was actually from the consultants themselves. They were overheard on a train going back to London Waterloo after a meeting with the chief executive of Epsom and St Helier, Daniel Elkerlees. One of them said, "I had a brief discussion with Daniel afterwards. He said he felt pretty good about the meeting. He said, we're making good progress. Actually, getting him to agree on the number of beds to start with is a very big accomplishment." They went on to discuss details about what the A&E should be called, what should be in it, and how many beds this new hospital might have.
I'm really shocked that they're talking about closing our local hospital again. They've been wanting to close it for years. They wanted to close this and the Epsom Hospital. They're coming back at us again within weeks of the CEO telling us that Epsom and St Helier were safe for the next 5 years.
The chief executive wouldn't be interviewed today, nor would anyone else from the local NHS, but they did offer us this statement, saying,
"This is a long-term plan, and any of the options being looked at here are many years away from being implemented, and will need a lot more discussion, agreement and consultation before they happen."
But as Angela Jacobs knows, building a new hospital at Sutton was discussed a decade ago.
I've heard it all before, yeah, they've already done that years ago, and nothing happened.
That plan was binned by the then Labour government. Any new one won't be easy to implement quickly.
I don't think the roads would be able to cope for it. I don't think it's the right place for it. Not a large hospital, but maybe a smaller, which, you know, we would all like.
For now, Epsom and St Helier hospitals will remain for 5 years at least, say local NHS bosses. But change will come here eventually.
And Carl joins me now. Carl, how damaging is this revelation to the Hospital Trust?
Yeah, I think maybe damaging is the wrong word, because I think there are plans clearly afoot to try and change things. We know they've been trying to change hospital services in that area for at least a decade, as I said in the report there. Labour had this plan that was binned 10 years ago, and that was, again, to build a new hospital on the Sutton site and get rid of Epsom and St Helier. Not damaging then, but maybe embarrassing. And embarrassing in the way it came out, because these consultants are being paid something like £50,000 to look into this process, and then they were heard on a busy train discussing these highly sensitive plans. And you saw from the reaction with Nick Clegg there today, really strong local reactions whenever you talk about closing the hospitals, and you have management consultants talking about this on a train where they can be heard. You should have heard the pin that dropped when I mentioned it to the hospital chief exec last week.
We can imagine. Extraordinary stuff. Carl, thank you.